You're not truly angry at other people. You're angry at yourself for letting them control how you feel. It sounds like a contradiction, but think carefully about the last time someone made you upset. You might quickly blame their words, their tone, or their attitude, convinced they ruined your day. But here's the real paradox. It's never truly about them. It's always about you. The uncomfortable truth is that every time someone's careless remark hits you deeply, you are the one allowing it to penetrate your inner world. They aren't holding the power. You've handed it to them willingly. Have you ever paused to wonder why a single careless sentence can cut so deep? Why is it that the smallest criticisms from others often leave lasting scars? Could it be that the pain you feel isn't caused by what they said, but because their words echo something hidden deep within you? Something you've quietly feared might be true? Perhaps the issue isn't with their words at all, but rather lies somewhere beneath your own surface, in places you've avoided exploring. Consider this carefully. What if the people who make you angriest are unknowingly giving you a precious gift, the chance to truly understand yourself? Psychologist Carl Jung spent his life contemplating this very idea, realizing that those who trigger us most profoundly are actually mirroring our unresolved inner wounds. So, when someone irritates you, they might be unintentionally guiding you toward the very truths you've spent years hiding from. Instead of blaming them, maybe it's time to ask yourself a deeper question. Are you genuinely angry with them, or are you angry at your own vulnerability, at your own hidden need for their approval? What if your anger is not an obstacle, but a silent messenger guiding you back to yourself? You're not angry because someone said something hurtful. You're angry because their words just exposed wounds you thought were already healed. Imagine yourself as a room filled with fragile, forgotten objects, each one representing a past hurt, a buried insecurity, or a hidden fear. These objects rest silently, untouched, until someone innocently bumps into them. In that moment, everything crashes to the floor, and you're forced to confront the mess you'd rather ignore. Just one passing comment from a colleague about your performance, a careless remark about your choices, or a subtle glance that feels dismissive. These things shouldn't carry so much weight, yet they haunt you. Why does their opinion matter so intensely? Could it be because deep down, you believe their words echo your own deepest fears? But perhaps it goes even deeper. Every time you react angrily, you're unknowingly handing someone else the authority to determine your worth. Picture yourself giving away the keys to your home, then growing resentful when others freely walk in and out of your personal space. When someone criticizes your work, your appearance, or your ideas, you immediately feel your sense of self-worth crumble. Yet, who gave them that power? Was it really taken from you, or did you freely give it away? Consider this carefully. If you genuinely believed in your own value, would their criticism still sting so sharply? Would you still lose sleep, or would their words pass by like clouds drifting harmlessly across the sky? The truth, though uncomfortable, is that the anger you project outward actually reveals an internal struggle. You're still not truly accepting yourself. Deep down, you remain your harshest critic. Sarah understood this painfully well. After a difficult meeting, she found herself crying, alone in her car. It wasn't really her boss's critique that broke her down. It was her inner voice quietly whispering the words she'd always feared. Maybe you aren't good enough. She worked tirelessly, but the smallest hint of disapproval made her feel like a failure because she had yet to embrace her own worth. You might recognize yourself in Sarah. You might also be like a fragile glass, easily cracked by the slightest touch because the foundation within you remains brittle and insecure. So ask yourself this: are you genuinely angry at those who hurt you? Or are you angry at yourself for still struggling to love and accept who you truly are? But here's the powerful truth that can change everything. Once you stop seeking validation from outside sources, you unlock genuine freedom. When you no longer rely on others' words and actions to define your worth, their opinions lose the power to disturb your peace. Think of those people who face constant criticism, yet remain completely unaffected. They move gracefully through negativity because they've anchored their identity firmly within themselves. Their self-worth isn't borrowed from others, it's something they own entirely. No one can hurt you without your permission. If someone's words are painful, it's because a part of you still believes those words are true. Consider this deeply. Who could you become if other people's judgments no longer mattered? What kind of peace might you discover if your worth was no longer conditional upon external validation? This realization is transformative, not because it shields you from hurtful remarks, but because it changes your relationship with yourself. When you understand that you alone determine your value, criticism becomes powerless. It no longer represents a threat. Instead, it's merely noise, as irrelevant as the wind passing by. True peace arrives the moment you refuse to give anyone the power to define your identity. Carl Jung gently pointed toward this powerful insight. Individuation, finding yourself by freeing yourself from external expectations, it means looking inward instead of outward, realizing your identity isn't constructed from others' perceptions, but from your authentic inner self. The philosophies of Advaita Vedanta echo this beautifully. Your true identity isn't fragile, nor does it depend on approval or rejection. Your inner peace is unshakable once you realize your self-worth can never truly be diminished by another's words or actions. So, ask yourself one final question. Who will you become the moment you stop allowing others' opinions to shape who you are? The truth you've been avoiding is this: you will never be free of anger until you stop borrowing your identity from the words and actions of others. Right now, you might believe your sense of self is solid and stable, yet how quickly does it crumble when faced with criticism, rejection, or disregard? How swiftly does your confidence vanish the moment someone challenges your worth? The anger you feel, the hurt, the resentment, only exists because somewhere along the way, you began defining yourself by the reactions you receive from the world around you. Imagine yourself as a mountain. Picture it vividly. Tall, majestic, and unwavering. Storms may rage around it. Winds howl furiously. Lightning flashes fiercely against its slopes. Yet the mountain remains unmoved. Not because it's indifferent, but because it knows exactly what it is, deeply and undeniably. The mountain doesn't wait for the storms to cease to feel secure. It stands firm in its own existence, independent of external conditions. Can you imagine feeling this kind of security within yourself? Now reflect for a moment. Who would you be if you no longer allowed others' words or behaviors to define your worth? How would your life transform if your identity were unshakable, rooted deeply in your inner truth, rather than borrowed from outside validation? Picture it clearly. Someone criticizes your choices, your appearance, or your work, but it doesn't rattle you because you no longer derive your sense of self from their approval. You recognize their opinion as just another passing storm, unable to alter your fundamental reality. Yet to reach this point, you must first confront an unsettling realization. Every moment of anger you experience is evidence that a part of you still believes your value can be decided by others. Every harsh comment that wounds you, every rejection that breaks you down, reveals exactly where you've unknowingly placed your identity: in someone else's hands. When you react defensively, hurtfully, or aggressively, you're not protecting your true self. You're defending an image of yourself created and sustained by external validation, and beneath your anger lies a quiet, persistent fear. The fear that perhaps they're right, that perhaps your worth really can be diminished by their judgment. Pause here and ask yourself honestly, how long have you been living this way, allowing others' words to determine your mood, your confidence, even your sense of belonging in the world. How many times have you silently wondered if your anger is merely a symptom of something deeper? A loss of identity? A misunderstanding of who you truly are beneath the surface? When you finally recognize this truth, something remarkable happens. Your anger transforms from a barrier into a bridge. Anger stops being something you must suppress or escape from. Instead, it becomes your greatest teacher, guiding you inward. It whispers to you, "Look carefully, here's where you're still giving your power away. Here's where you're still uncertain of your own value." Every emotional reaction becomes an invitation to reclaim yourself, to consciously decide that your worth will no longer hinge on the shifting tides of other people's opinions. Think carefully. How would it feel to know that your worth doesn't fluctuate based on how someone treats you today? How liberating would it be to face criticism without feeling your core shaken? To experience rejection without spiraling into self-doubt? To hear a careless remark and truly, deeply understand that it says nothing about who you are? This profound inner stability is not indifference. It is wisdom. It's the calm, rooted understanding that the storms around you, the careless words, sharp criticisms, misunderstandings, cannot truly harm you if you know, deep within, exactly who you are. The mountain does not despise the storm, it simply remains. Similarly, you do not need to fight against external judgments. You only need to anchor yourself firmly within your own truth. So, ask yourself once more, clearly and deeply, who will you become when you stop letting the world define you? What will your life look like when others' actions and opinions lose their power to disturb your peace? Maybe you'll notice that you're no longer quick to anger, no longer easily wounded by criticism, and no longer haunted by rejection. Maybe you'll discover that the energy you once wasted on defending an externally constructed identity can now be used to live fully, authentically, and joyfully. Maybe you'll finally see that your real strength isn't built on defensiveness or validation, but on clarity and self-awareness. As you stand firm like that mountain, storms still come. Yes, criticism, judgment, and misunderstandings will remain, but they'll no longer shake you. You will watch calmly as they pass by, observing but not absorbing them because you now recognize something powerful. Your identity was never theirs to give or take. It was always yours alone. This understanding isn't passive resignation, it's profound freedom. It's the quiet, unshakable confidence of knowing exactly who you are, regardless of anyone else's perspective. It's the inner peace that emerges when you stop allowing external voices to dictate your truth. Imagine the strength you'll carry, the grace you'll embody, and the peace you'll radiate when your identity is finally your own creation, not something borrowed, fragile, and subject to constant threat. As you contemplate this possibility, hold it in your mind. What would today be like if right now you stopped seeking approval from others? What burden would lift from your shoulders if you stopped defining yourself by external feedback? How much lighter would your spirit feel if you accepted fully and unconditionally who you already are, independent of praise or blame? Every moment of irritation, anger, or insecurity that arises from others' opinions now becomes a choice, an opportunity to choose differently, to choose yourself, to reclaim your identity from external influences, to finally build an identity that stands untouched by storms, because it is deeply and authentically yours. Let this insight guide you forward. Your anger is not punishment, it's simply a reminder of where your identity remains dependent on others, and an invitation to find within yourself something far more secure, stable, and enduring. A mountain does not worry whether storms approve of it. It simply stands, fully aware of its nature. Now, one final question to carry with you. Who are you really, beyond anyone else's judgment or validation? When you find the courage to answer that, your anger will dissolve naturally, replaced by an unwavering sense of inner peace and strength, a clarity that no storm can ever disrupt again. Real peace doesn't arrive when people stop upsetting you. It arrives when you decide to no longer let yourself be disturbed by their words and actions. For so long, perhaps you've waited patiently for others to change, hoping they'll finally understand you, respect you, or value your presence. But what if true freedom doesn't come from waiting at all? What if the lasting serenity you've been longing for is something that only you can give to yourself? Consider this carefully. You might never control how others behave or speak to you, but you always have complete authority over your response. You've spent countless days allowing minor judgments and careless remarks to dictate your emotions, feeling tossed around by external opinions like leaves in the wind, but imagine the quiet strength that emerges when you choose differently, when you stop letting outside voices determine your worth. In that simple yet profound decision, you reclaim a power you may have forgotten you had. The truth is, each moment you feel triggered by someone else's behavior, you're being offered an opportunity. Each irritation, each wave of anger, every hurtful remark holds within it the invitation to turn inward, to observe yourself and to question why you allowed these words or actions to define you. Who are you beyond the need for approval? Who could you become if your identity no longer rested on someone else's perception? This gentle realization is like discovering you've held the keys to your own peace all along. It's not about suppressing feelings or numbing emotions, but about standing firm in the understanding of who you genuinely are. Picture yourself as a steady flame. No matter how forcefully the wind blows, your core remains warm and luminous, untouched by the storm. You're no longer dependent on external circumstances to feel secure or worthy. Your peace now comes from an unwavering self-awareness. So today, right now, ask yourself sincerely, are you ready to stop giving away your inner peace to anyone who speaks or acts carelessly? Can you commit to choosing serenity from within, regardless of what happens outside? What would your life feel like if, from this moment forward, you consciously decided to become the source of your own validation, your own calm, your own sense of self-worth? If you feel ready to take this step, gently write down below, I choose peace within myself. Sometimes simply putting these words out into the world can initiate a powerful shift within your consciousness. Or if something deeper resonated with you today, just write, I understand now. Because the moment you truly understand, the moment you realize your inner peace is solely yours to claim, is precisely the moment your true journey toward emotional freedom begins.